Alright, folks, you've handed over a proper cosmic brainbender, haven't you? This whole past, present, and future all chilling out together right now, lark is the kind of stuff that makes your head do a little existential jig. So, we're going to take this juicy bit of temporal weirdness, give it the full dahi treatment, sprinkle in some mind-bending facts, a dash of the absurd, and a healthy dollop of humor, and stretch it out into a right proper English yarn, making sure it zips along without turning into a snooze fest. Buckle up, time travelers. It's going to get wibbly-wobbly. So, the big question that's got our neurons firing like a toddler with a box of sparklers is this. Are you right, this very second, simultaneously living your first wobbly steps, awkwardly navigating your teenage years, triumphantly, or perhaps less so, accepting your graduation certificate, and, well, facing the ultimate cosmic curtain call? Sounds bonkers, doesn't it? Like something you'd overhear in a pub after one too many pints of the black stuff. But surprisingly, the eggheads with the fancy equations are whispering that the answer might just be a resounding, yep. But hold on a tick. How can that even compute? What in the name of Einstein's magnificent mustache does that even mean? Let's try to wrangle this slippery concept of time. Imagine the universe as a rather enthusiastic toddler armed with a giant ream of paper and a box overflowing with crayons. Each frantic scribble, each colorful masterpiece, or abstract blob, represents a single snapshot of everything happening in the cosmos at a specific instant. One moment, a star pops into existence with a glorious bang. The next, someone, somewhere, is having a truly terrible hair day. Our universe toddler diligently captures each fleeting now with a brand new drawing, promptly tossing the old one onto a rapidly growing pile. In this rather simplistic analogy, what we perceive as reality is just the very latest drawing, the one the cosmic kid is currently brandishing with pride, or maybe a bit of drool. The past? That's the ever-increasing mountain of discarded artwork, moments that have had their 15 minutes of fame and are now relegated to the cosmic attic. The future? Well, that's the pristine stack of blank paper, waiting for the toddler's next burst of creative energy. This feels intuitively right, doesn't it? Each now elbowing its way to the forefront, shoving the past into the rearview mirror and leaving the future as a tantalizing blank canvas. But what if our universe toddler isn't quite so linear? What if this energetic little artist has actually finished all their drawings, a complete and utter history of the universe from the Big Bang to the last cosmic sigh, and has simply stacked them all neatly on top of each other? Suddenly, we're not looking at a movie reel, but a colossal time block, a monumental skyscraper of moments containing every single now that has ever been or will ever be. And here's where your brain might start doing the aforementioned existential jig. Because within this time block, your past self, your present self, glued to this screen, and your future self, perhaps finally mastering the art of making a decent cup of tea, are all equally real, all existing simultaneously. This feels wrong. Our puny human brains are hardwired to experience a linear progression, one darn second, marching resolutely after the other. How can yesterday's dodgy haircut and tomorrow's potential lottery win both be real right now? The spanner in the works, the delightful little curveball that throws our intuitive understanding of time out the window, is none other than Einstein's theory of relativity. Heavily, and I mean heavily, simplified, because the actual maths would make your eyebrows do a permanent disappearing act. Relativity tells us that time and space aren't these separate, well-behaved entities. Nope, they're all tangled up in a cosmic hug called space-time. And when you zoom through space, you're not just cruising through the 3 dimensions we know and love. You're also zipping through this time block. This cosmic two-step has a rather mind-boggling consequence. Time doesn't tick at the same rate for everyone. It's all relative, hence the name, clever clogs. Your personal experience of time depends on how you're bopping through space relative to someone else. And this also means that what you perceive as now is just a specific slice through this time block, a slice that's entirely dependent on your state of motion. So that warm fuzzy feeling of the present, that's just your present. There are countless other nows scattered throughout the universe, each one just as valid and just as real. And if everyone's now is different, then there's no such thing as a universal past or a universal future. Let's try a little thought experiment to wrestle this temporal beast. Picture 3 alien spaceships hanging out 1,000,000 light years away, because why not? Spaceship Alpha is just chilling, not moving relative to you. You two are in the same temporal boat, experiencing the same now. If you had some super whiz-bang instantaneous intergalactic internet, because regular Wi-Fi just wouldn't cut it, you could have a right proper video call and compare notes on the weirdness of the universe. Now, Spaceship Beta is legging it away from us at a blistering 30 kilometers per second, which is about 3 times faster than your average human rocket. This speed demon is carving a different path through the time block than you are, meaning its now is a completely different slice. With our magic internet, the aliens on Spaceship Beta could be having a chinwag with your great-great-grandparents back in 1924, when humanity was just scratching its head at those fuzzy blobs we now know as galaxies beyond our own Milky Way. Finally, Spaceship Gamma is hurtling towards Earth at the same speed, 30 kilometers, but on a collision course, hopefully a friendly one. It's zipping through the time block at the opposite angle to Spaceship Beta. And guess what? It's experiencing yet another entirely different now. With our trusty magic internet, the occupants of Spaceship Gamma could be exchanging pleasantries with your descendants in the year 2124, when humanity has presumably figured out how to build decent cities on Mars, and maybe even Venus, fingers crossed for decent Wi-Fi there too. So we've got 3 different nows floating around. Which one is the real one? Well, that's the kicker. Relativity, in its infinite wisdom, is built on a rather powerful principle: cosmic democracy. Every single observer in the universe, no matter how fast they're whizzing about, has an equally valid point of view. All those different nows have to be equally real. But if that's the case, then your awkward teenage years, your current YouTube binge, and that future moment when you finally figure out how to fold a fitted sheet all have to exist simultaneously right now. Because for those different alien observers, each of those moments is happening in their present. This leads to a rather unsettling conclusion. The neat little distinction we draw between the past, the present, and the future might just be a grand illusion, a trick of our limited human perception. The universe isn't some grand cosmic movie unfolding frame by frame. It's more like a gigantic, static ice sculpture, a frozen block of space-time where everything that ever will happen is already etched in cosmic ice. But if all time coexists, doesn't that mean the future is already set in stone? That all our choices are just a pre-written script in this cosmic ice block? It certainly feels like we have free will, like we can choose to hit pause on this video and dash for that perpetually late bus. But if the future's already decided, then are our decisions just a fancy light show, a predetermined dance of neurons? Maybe our free will is just a mirage, a convincing trick played by our brains. And maybe you missing that bus was decided all the way back at the Big Bang, so feel free to keep watching. Just don't blame me if you end up sprinting. But just when things start to get a little too deterministic, and we resign ourselves to our preordained bus-missing fate, along comes quantum mechanics to throw a rather large, spiky wrench into the works. Quantum processes, the weird and wonderful goings-on at the tiniest scales of the universe, are fundamentally unpredictable, even in principle. It's not just that we're a bit dim and haven't figured out the equations yet. According to the very fabric of quantum physics, quantum particles are intrinsically random. Take a radioactive atom, for example. It could decide to decay in the next blink of an eye, or it could stubbornly hang around for 1,000,000 years. We can calculate the probability of it decaying tomorrow, but no cosmic oracle, no being with ultimate knowledge, could ever tell you with absolute certainty whether it will or won't. And these tiny, unpredictable quantum events can have massive consequences on the grand scale of the universe. Imagine that radioactive atom randomly decaying and causing a genetic mutation in a nearby mammal. Fast forward a few million years, and that tiny, random event has led to a bizarre duck-mammal hybrid that defies all logical explanation. But if that atom had decided to decay a day later, that feathered, furry monstrosity would never have existed. If the quantum realm is truly uncertain, then the future can't be set in stone like some cosmic instruction manual. But if the future is an unwritten story, then how can it be as real as the past, which has already happened? So, what happens when these uncertain quantum events, like our atom's decay, become real? Is that moment the present? Is this now? But we've already established that cosmic democracy makes defining an absolute now a rather tricky business. What's a temporal philosopher to do? Well, it turns out that for every individual object, you, that hypothetical alien, even a single atom, the past, the present, and the future are always perfectly well defined for that object. Your eventual departure from this mortal coil will always happen after your grand entrance. Never before, and certainly not at the same time. Right now, for you, now makes perfect sense. You're clearly somewhere between those two monumental bookends of your existence. If we ditch the cosmic scale thought experiments with speedy aliens and stick to our local cosmic neighborhood, things start to look a bit more ordered and, dare I say, normal. Individual nows seem to exist, at least for individual observers. So, can we reconcile this with our block universe idea? Maybe the block universe isn't a complete and frozen entity. Perhaps it's just the past. A solid, unchangeable record of everything that has already happened. And maybe the present is just a razor-thin layer on the surface of this past block, a constantly updating frontier where the uncertain future becomes the concrete past. This surface isn't smooth and uniform, it's bumpy and uneven, a patchwork quilt made up of countless individual nows, each experienced by someone or something in the universe, each equally real and valid. And as new things happen, as those quantum uncertainties resolve themselves, radioactive atoms decay, bizarre duck mammals evolve, or don't, and people inevitably miss the bus. This now frontier moves ever upward, creating new time, new reality in the universe. So maybe the universe isn't a frozen block with a pre-written future. Maybe it's a growing block, where time genuinely passes and the future is still an open book. And if that's the case, then you can choose to leave a bit earlier and avoid that whole bus-chasing debacle. Let's do a quick rewind. We started with the intuitive idea of time as a movie reel, one now clicking into place after another, with only the current frame being real. Then, relativity threw a spanner in the works, suggesting multiple nows that are all equally real, potentially leading to a frozen block universe where free will is just a figment of our imagination. And now, we've arrived at a sort of growing block compromise, where time flows and the future is still up for grabs. So, which one is it? What is real? The present moment? The long gone past? Are the dinosaurs as real as you are right now? What do those hypothetical aliens a million light years away make of all this temporal kerfuffle? To be brutally honest, nobody truly knows. What we've explored are just a couple of possibilities for describing time, and they're certainly not the only ones on the cosmic menu. Some scientists reckon that now only makes sense in your immediate vicinity, not on a universal scale. Others think that time itself is a complete illusion, a clever trick played by our human brains. And still others believe that time does exist, but it's not a fundamental building block of the universe. Rather, it might emerge from some deeper level of reality, much like heat arises from the frantic jiggling of individual molecules, or life springs forth from the intricate dance of lifeless proteins. We could delve deeper into these temporal rabbit holes, but isn't that bus looking rather imminent? The concept of time, it seems, is a slippery fish, abstract and elusive, possibly even beyond the full grasp of our puny human minds.